trigger. Bloopers.
Going live.
Welcome to another episode of
The Kast.
And a lot to talk about. And we're going to try to get through it as quickly as possible without missing too many of the major details.
Yep.
First and foremost, the big news coming out last week, was it?
Yeah.
The Nintendo Switch.
I'm going to let you lead.
Okay. Well, first and foremost, I need to say I thought about recording a reaction video on my own about this simply because there's so much I want to say about it.
Okay.
But I'll try to condense. Well, when I first saw it, initial reactions, I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. Tablet, you got your base, you put it in, take the controls off, you play at home,
Yeah.
plug it back in, take it with you. I'm like, man, this looks awesome. And then they started showing games like Skyrim and NBA 2K, and I'm like, ooh, Nintendo, are you doing finally what I wanted you to do?
Mixing some third parties in there.
Yep. And then
Impressive looking hardware.
the inner fanboy, the inner Nintendo fanboy of mine started to come out, and I'm like, this is going to be great. And then I stopped. And I thought about it. I'm like, wait a minute, this is a tablet.
Yeah.
And then I read somewhere that it was the base, the dock is just for yes,
Yep.
outputting the power source. So the good for me is this is going to kind of, I don't want to say revolutionize, but change the way we look at home consoles, because it's taking a step towards giving you the mobile option.
Yes.
As well as the play at home option. Opens things up. Like if you have a dock at your house and I'm like, hey man, I want you to check out this whatever game I just bought, Bayonetta 3, just hypothetically.
Yeah.
I can take my tablet, essentially, bring it to your house, plug it in, boom, you're good to go. So right there, I'm like, wow, that's cool. But unfortunately, that's about where my positives stop for it. Well, aside from the fact that the games that we thought they were showing look great, and I emphasize thought, and the whole concept of, you know, different types of way to play and the multiplayer using the two joystick things that are going to be connected, and the third party support. Aside from that, I'm like, all right. Then I started thinking, and I'm like, wait a minute. I looked at a video on, I think it was IGN.
Okay.
And one of the dudes was like, he was fanboying crazy. And he was like, oh my God, you know, if you really think about it, price, I don't see this thing being that expensive because I bought a Kindle Fire tablet for $50 on Amazon. And I'm like, well, the Kindle Fire tablet is extremely underpowered.
And it's a completely different scenario.
Yes.
Like a completely different scenario. Something you want for gaming is going to be nowhere near
Exactly.
a media device level.
Exactly. So it made me kind of go into my, I need to think about the pros and the cons of this. But anyway, the bad part of it is, for one, the dock is just a dock. There's no extra processing power being given to it, right? Which means...
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of weird, especially given all that like has happened in the PC world with low end, like essentially MacBook Air powered devices,
right,
that have huge graphical upgrades due to the dock.
Right. And then I stopped and I'm like, it's probably going to be Wi-Fi only. I'm a huge fan of having all my consoles wired. Unless they
integrate that into the dock,
right, which I don't see Nintendo doing.
You never know, because with the trend that has been happening with both the Xbox One also Scorpio, we put that in there with PlayStation 4 Slim and then PlayStation 4 Pro.
Mm-hmm.
This would be stupid, but Nintendo could possibly go that same route and have their base model where your dock is just a dock, and then have a Pro model where your dock is actually a huge upgrading part.
I don't see Nintendo doing that. Nintendo's always been about, here it is, this is it, unless it's a bigger hard drive.
That's true.
You know,
That's true.
The next thing that concerns me is the remotes. They're small, the ones that tab onto the side of the tablet.
Mm-hmm.
Using them with that control dock thing might be fine, but I think if you're using them on their own, the way that they were showing it Wii style sideways, I think that'll be a pain because they're so small.
Yeah, I can't even, like, with the whole, like, splitting it up and giving one person one part and I'm taking the other. Like, I couldn't picture playing even indie titles on something like that.
No.
It feel weird.
Then it came down to the processing power of the tablet, and I'm thinking, okay, this thing is rumored to be using a X1 processor. I think that's what they used in the NVIDIA Shield. Okay,
yeah.
Which was what, last year, 2 years ago. And that's a good processor, but again, that's nowhere near PS4, Xbox One, or Scorpio, PS4 Pro levels, which concerns me with the third party, because you're not going to get parity across the platforms.
No.
Which means you're going to get either watered down versions of third party titles that release on the other two, or their own version, which actually might make more sense for them to do.
I would hope for your own version. I mean, that'd be cool, because then they can take advantage of the hardware of different scenarios, especially since the entire thing is based off the tablet.
Right.
Now you can start integrating the field data that you got from stuff like Pokemon Go and seeing how people reacted to that augmented reality vibe. And they can really corner the market with that.
Right. Now, one of my other concerns is, along with the whole being a tablet and processing power and stuff like that, which a lot of people are like, it doesn't matter what the processing power is. It's a Nintendo. No. When it comes to Sony and Microsoft, we make the biggest deal about the power that are in these consoles. Like,
PC
everyone
too.
started flipping their wig when they heard that the PS4 Pro was not going to run native 4K. Nintendo's no different, okay? If you're trying to compete with the big three, yeah, it's kind of a different area, a different slot that they're in, because it's Nintendo.
Yeah.
But the thing is, when it comes down to it, and the mistake that they made with the Wii U, and even towards the end of the Wii's life cycle, is the third-party support. And I've said it before, I'm going to say it again. If you're going to give me watered-down versions of a game that I'm going to get the best version of on the other two guys, aside from Mario Kart and your Pokemon, who's going to buy this console? Because you're not giving the other people kind of a reason to, you know what I mean?
Well, again, that harkens back to that unique experience, because I see it as more of, since Nintendo's Nintendo, they're always doing something different, something out there. They're quirky. I put them as being more of a competitor to, let's say, PlayStation VR than actually PS4. Just because it's a different experience. Like, your VR games have to feel different, right? They have to feel immersive in their own type of way. I feel like Nintendo's third parties and first parties should be the same.
Which I get, and I'm not disagreeing, but I feel because of the way the console space is right now, you kind of have to be as competitive as you can.
Yeah, but let's say they do 1080p, ridiculously great, and they're able to achieve a glorious frame rate across their entire library. And then they give you games that just bring back the essence of what gaming is. Let's say they bring back the second coming of Final Fantasy VII, which I know there's a remake and everything, but just that aura of, wow, here came an RPG out of nowhere, and it's just epic. Or, like, let's say another Kingdom Hearts-esque title that just takes the world by storm and is completely within Nintendo's market. I think their focus should be on gameplay and less of the graphics.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up, because remember I said the games that we thought we were looking at? report came out that allegedly, well, not allegedly, apparently, none of those games that were shown on the screens were actually running on the the Switch. And Bethesda and 2K have yet to confirm that Skyrim or any 2K basketball game is going to be on the Switch. So, I mean, that might damper some people's spirits. It might not. But to me, it's kind of a show of faith from Nintendo. Like, hey, man, we're willing to throw this on. But again, there's only but so much you can do. I mean, I get it. Mobile technology has increased dramatically over the past couple of years.
Well, yeah. And plus, you got to remember, too, like, everything's fused. Mm-hmm. So they fused their Game Boy department with their console department. Right. So they have all of that, all those resources to combine and lean on. And the Game Boy is one of the strongest selling handheld devices ever made.
But look at Nintendo's track record right now. Okay, so going back to the GameCube, essentially. Not even the GameCube. Well, let's go back to the Wii. They've been underpowered for the past however many years, and they're content with that.
The GameCube was the start of the underpowered.
They're content with that,
yeah.
Right? And not to say that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, no, because like, aren't their games cheaper usually?
Depends on the game. Mario, you're paying $60.
Oh, you're paying for the name,
you know. But
yeah, I mean, it kind of makes sense to go a little bit underpowered. You know, they do it in the cell phone market share. Why not the console market?
Because console players, game players are a little bit different than your tech connoisseurs.
This is true. But, I mean, if you play it outright, if you do everything the right way, you can still capitalize on all of that.
Yes, but again, I have to play devil's advocate with what you're saying, and I have to say I don't think Nintendo's going to go that route. The Switch looks cool, okay?
Yeah.
But I think that after the initial novelty of it kind of wears off.
Yeah.
And people start questioning it and start taking their Mario hats off, like, wait a minute, I think we'll start seeing, like, all right, this might be a good step forward, but what are we losing in the process?
Yeah.
And that comes to price. What's this thing going to cost? Now, if I went out and bought a Switch, I want the whole shebang with it. I need that controller dock. I need the 2 paddle things, the tablet, and the docking station. Because I'm buying it to be a home console primarily and then a mobile console secondary. Okay? Something I can get my AAA Nintendo titles on, plug it in, play at home, and then when I gotta go, unplug it, take it with me.
Yeah.
That seems to be the focus, to me at least, of what it's supposed to be. So I read somewhere that it might possibly come as just a tablet with the 2 little Joy-Cons, I think is what they're calling it. And I'm like, well, that's not cool because they're driving the price. They're trying to drive the price down or whatever.
Yeah, and again, it makes sense for their main market share, which is like kids. Which again, that's something else to touch on too, because someone at work brought up a good point. Right? Amazing looking hardware, great hardware piece, something you want in your living room, something that you wouldn't feel ashamed or dirty putting it next to your Xbox One S or Scorpio, or your PlayStation 4 Slim or Pro, right? You wouldn't even mind putting it next to your $3,000 ultra gaming rig. Like, you wouldn't mind it. It looks pleasing from a techie point of view. However, the main demographic has always been and will always be kids.
I don't know if that's the demographic in this one. I saw 0 children in the advert.
And not even just that, like, he was telling me, he was like, look, if I put this out there and I bring this into my house, all of those pieces are going to disappear and break.
And that's the thing. I think they're marketing towards young adults in this one, just based off of the trailer.
Which is a good move, because if you're moving into, let's say, the teenage market share, that's where a lot of your gaming dollars go to.
But this is where it comes back to, this is why I make the argument that I make of what third-party games you're going to have on there. Because once you start going towards that young adult market, it's a totally different type of ball game. You know what I mean? Let's look at what happened to Pokemon Go. Everyone was all over it for the first couple weeks, and then it kind of just faded off, and people realized this isn't fun anymore.
Actually, I had another interesting conversation at work with someone who thoroughly enjoyed playing Pokemon Go, and the reason why it faded off wasn't because the novelty wore off. It was due to it wasn't being updated properly.
Okay.
And I didn't know that because I barely played it. But yeah, when Google Maps updated, apparently there was an issue with the software, and so the map portion was completely off, and that threw off the entire game, and that was it.
See, my boy at work who used to play it hardcore told me, like, I asked him, he was like, yeah, I don't play it anymore. And I'm like, why?
Nobody
And he
plays
was
it.
just like, just got tired of it.
Yeah, I mean, they didn't do anything really with it.
Yeah.
It's such a waste.
But I don't know, man. I think we digress a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think price wise, I'm seeing $300 to $350 for all the components in the box.
I was looking at more of like a 400, just because, again, I compare it to something like a PlayStation VR, where if you look at some of the bundles for it, I feel like it's gonna come with a game because Nintendo, and for everything, I think around $400 seems about right.
But will it? Because this is the thing too. How much storage is in that tablet? Okay. Secondly, it's probably going to be all Wi-Fi, no wired connection. How stable is the network going to be? How fast is the network going to be? How reliable is it going to be? Because I'm going to have to download games too at some point. People are going to start saying, I need to download games, especially if you're out on the run.
Yeah.
It's cartridge based now. Granted, mobile technology again, like the SD cards and stuff you get for your phone,
Well, yeah,
go
it
up to like 2 terabytes.
Have the expandable, yeah.
But that's just extra added on top of what you're buying. You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is why I had to stop the fanboying and stop going crazy over it and stop and kind of look at it from a consumer point of view. Like, I'm a gamer. At least when I go buy an Xbox One or a PS4, I know I can connect it hardwire to my internet. So if I need to download games, it's not going to... Granted, Wi-Fi is... Again, it's pretty fast depending on the carrier or the service provider you have.
Yeah.
But I know what I'm getting. I know the hard drive size in the box. I know I can do this much with it. I can do that. I know what the network's all about. We know nothing outside of you plug it in, you unplug it, you plug the things into the side.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah.
I have to... I was sold when I first saw it. I was like, switch, sold, give it to me right now.
Yeah.
And then I stopped and I thought about it and I was like, I don't know.
See, and all this makes me wonder, like, again, the demographic. Like, age-wise, we agree it's kind of more teen, young adult. Is it built for your tournament goers? Because remember, your major selling titles right now for Nintendo, yes, it's Zelda and those classic things, but Smash. People that don't game play Smash. And then apparently Pokken Tournament is pretty big too.
I guess.
So it's like, is that for them? Like, is that going to be like their Halo, their backbone to like their
I guess,
thing?
bro. Like, honestly, the novelty's already kind of worn off for me. And I've gone from the, super excited to hear more news to just, all right, whenever it happens kind of things. Because honestly, if the console comes out and it's any less than where we said before, X1 processor and the expandable memory and all that, I'm just going to ignore it altogether.
So I have to throw it out there. As a person who owns a Shield tablet, if it came out and it had the same quality as what you can get with a Shield tablet, would you be all right with that?
I would, because it's going to be refined to make the most out of Nintendo's first-party titles.
Yeah.
Right? But again...
And technically, there's the argument of streaming the third-party titles, which I wonder if that's something that they're going to look into.
I doubt it.
I mean...
I doubt it, dude. I can't with it. I can't with Nintendo, man.
I know. I'm trying to be optimistic, because when I saw the tablet, immediately all I could think of was, oh my god, they built a Shield and they're gonna go for it. They're gonna do it, and it could be bigger than the Shield, just based on the grounds that no, Nintendo's not a bigger company than Nvidia, but Nintendo is a more mainstream company than Nvidia.
Yes, but seeing is believing for me, man.
I know, and I'm kind of
No.
the same way. Like I looked at it, and it kind of was like, all right, it's there. I'll wait and see. I will reserve my judgment completely on it. Only thing I've been saying to people is it's a beautiful piece of hardware.
It is. It is. But once you get past the aesthetics, and I'm going to keep saying it, I need to see more, man. I need more Nintendo. You know, like, cool little reveal trailer. You had me going. You had me going.
Did they even announce when, like...
March 2017. So, I mean...
Ooh, tax season.
Yo, we're in October, bruh.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
you know, November, December, like, I need some more info to get me hyped and to make me go, I need to pre-order this. Right now, it's when it comes out and I see what games come out,
Then I'll
consider it.
Yeah.
Right now, it's not even on my radar, dude.
Well, I mean, I would hope that they put demo models out, at least in like your Best Buy and stuff like that, somewhere in the winter season. Build up the hype. I mean, it sucks that they're coming out after Christmas.
I worked at a video game retailer, and the Nintendo kiosk that we had,
Always empty.
yo, this lady came like once every couple months to update it. Like, hey guys, I got an update, Mario Kart 8, and it's like, thanks. The game's out already, you know. Like, but anyway, with that being said, Nintendo NX early judgments. What do you say? Thumbs up, thumbs down, or somewhere in between?
For right now, based on what we know, I think it's a good move. They're taking a step in the right direction. Let's just hope that the experience matches the aesthetics.
I agree. It is a step in a very interesting direction. We'll see if it's right in a little bit. Interesting direction.
Look, man.
Nice hardware.
It's right.
Nice ideas.
That's what I mean.
Execution is key. Third-party execution. I need to see the games. I need a price, and I need specs. I need specs. So I have to go like in between, you know.
Yeah, I don't want to get caught up on the specs.
I have to.
I want to physically be able to play it myself and make judgment.
That's fine. But how would you feel if they came out with Assassin's Creed whatever next year, and Nintendo says, it's coming to the Switch, and then you play it and it's watered down, lower textures, you know what I mean, frame rate doesn't hold up. How would you feel about that? Specs matter.
Okay, like frame rate specs matter.
Specs matter. How would you want to go and play Infamous Second Son on PS3 knowing what it looks like on PS4? And with that being said, folks, peace.